Welcome back to the deep dive. Usually when we crack open a fantasy novel, especially the really big epic ones, there's a certain aesthetic to the danger.
Right. Like a cinematic quality.
Yeah, exactly. You have your gleaming armies, your dark lords in spiky armor, maybe a dragon sweeping over this picturesque mountain range. It's dangerous, sure, but it's romantic. It's the kind of danger you'd see on like a heavy metal album
A
cover.
very stylized, almost clean version of peril.
Mhm.
Even the battlefields have this sense of grandeur to them.
Right. But the world we're stepping into today, there is absolutely no majesty here. None.
Yeah.
If this setting were a smell, it wouldn't be, pine forests or sulfur. It would be stale beer, rotting garbage, and dried blood.
Oh, absolutely.
If it were a tactile feeling, it would be cold, slick mud just crawling up your leg while you try to sleep.
Yeah, it's a place where the whole concept of heroism doesn't just die.
Yeah.
It gets mugged in an alley, stripped of its boots, and left to rot. We're looking at a world where life isn't just cheap. It's practically a currency that devalues every single day.
And so today, we're diving deep into the opening chapters, specifically chapters 1 through 6 of The Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks. It's the kickoff to the Night Angel trilogy, and we aren't just here to recount the plot of a street urchin trying to survive. We have a much bigger target.
We do. Our mission for this deep dive is to really dissect the anatomy of power in the city of Scenaria. Because Weeks sets up this fascinating mirror for us to look at.
Right.
We're going to examine how power operates in the gutter, like the literal sewers, and how it operates in the highest throne room. And the terrifying thing is, when you strip away the silk robes and the rags, the mechanics of power are almost identical.
It's like the horseshoe theory of fantasy politics. The absolute top and the absolute bottom are way closer than they think. And central to this whole discussion is a distinction that defines the entire series, the difference between a mere killer and an artist of death.
A very crucial and, frankly, deeply arrogant distinction, but one that changes everything for the characters involved.
So let's set the scene properly for you, the listener. We are in the Warrens. And just that name alone tells you almost everything you need to know. It implies overcrowding, vermin.
The Warrens are the slums of Scenaria City. But calling them slums honestly feels way too generous. It's a labyrinth of absolute poverty. And the sensory details in these first few chapters are just overwhelming. The text makes sure you understand that for our protagonist, Azoth, the filth isn't just background scenery, it is his entire existence.
Right.
You have the smell of the tanneries, that acrid chemical burn of curing leather, and it's mixed with human waste, just permeating everything.
And the mud, it's not just outside in the streets, it's inside the buildings. There's this one detail that stuck with me immediately, where the floor of the tavern isn't wood or stone. It's sawdust mixed with mud, and it's ankle deep. It smells of marsh and stale beer.
And hiding in that mud, literally underneath the floorboard, swimming in that muck, is Azoth.
Let's introduce Azoth. He's our primary lens for this first segment.
Yeah. Right, so Azoth is a guild rat. That is his official social station in this world. He's 11 years old, he's starving, and he's small for his age. And right now, he's navigating this crawl space beneath a bar, sifting through the slime just to find dropped coins. Coppers, mostly, that drug patrons might have fumbled.
That's his baseline.
Yes, he is a bottom feeder.
But while he's down there looking for literal scraps, he witnesses the absolute apex predator of the food chain. And this brings us to that core concept we mentioned, the wet boy.
This is a term unique to this universe, and I love how aggressive the text is about defining it. It doesn't ease you in at all.
There's a line that I think is going to be the anchor for this entire discussion. It's practically the tagline of the book. It says, "A wet boy is like an assassin in the way a tiger is like a kitten."
That line does so much heavy lifting, doesn't it? It's incredibly bold. But within the context of the world, it's entirely accurate. Think about it. In most fantasy, or even history, an assassin is a tradesman.
Right, it's transactional. You pay them, they kill the target, it's a job.
Exactly. A wet boy. That implies something existential.
So what makes the difference? Is it just that they charge more money, better training?
It is those things, but the source material really hints at the primary differentiator, which is the talent. Now, we need to be clear here because the book throws this term at you without a textbook definition in these early chapters. The talent is the magic system of this world.
But we aren't seeing fireballs and lightning bolts here. This is not a video game.
No, not at all, and that's why it's so effective. In the hands of a wet boy, the talent is subtle. It's almost entirely internal. We see Durzo Blint.
The most legendary wet boy in the city.
Right, Durzo Blint using it to alter his physical presence. He softens his footsteps so he can move across creaky floorboards in absolute dead silence. He can blend into shadows so effectively that the human eye just slides right off him.
It's weaponized stealth. It's not invisibility, exactly. It's more like being fundamentally unnoticeable.
Precisely. It turns a human into an apex predator. An assassin might hide in the shadows, but a wet boy wears the shadows. And Azoth, from his hiding spot under the floor, gets a front row seat to see this predator at work.
Let's break down that scene in the tavern because it is an absolute masterclass in tension. You have Durzo Blint sitting at a table. He looks drunk. He's slumped over. He looks completely vulnerable.
Which is the first trap. Blint is never vulnerable. He's surrounded by men who want to kill him, led by a guy trying to make a name for himself. They think they have the drop on him. And then we get this surreal moment. A white asp, which is a highly venomous snake, just appears on the table.
The text actually calls it the price of failure.
It's a message. Someone sent that snake to kill Blint because he messed up a previous job, or at least that's what we're led to believe. Now picture the reaction time needed here. A snake strikes faster than the human eye can track.
Yeah.
Most people would panic. They'd flip the table, run, scream.
Blint catches it.
Out of the air, he catches a striking snake mid-lunge.
Which is insane.
That level of reflex shouldn't be physically possible. It signals to everyone in the room and to you reading it that the laws of physics apply differently to this guy. He just holds this deadly creature like it's a child's toy.
And then the violence starts. And honestly, it barely qualifies as a fight. It is way too one-sided to be a fight.
It's an execution. The text specifies the timing. 20 seconds. There are 6 armed men in the room. They have swords. They have the clear advantage of numbers. 20 seconds later, they're all dead.
And Azoth, who is listening from underneath the floorboards, notices something chilling. The silence.
That's the wet boy difference again. If I were an assassin, you'd have a scuffle, you'd hear chairs breaking, people shouting for the guard, the clash of steel on steel. Here it's just wet thuds, bodies hitting the floor.
Nobody even had time to scream.
No, it's efficient to the point of being mechanical.
It's terrifying because it is so casual. He killed 6 people the way you or I might, check our email.
Exactly. And while this absolute massacre is happening above, Azoth is dealing with his own life or death situation down in the mud. And I have to say, reading this scene stressed me out more than the guys getting stabbed upstairs.
The spider.
The white wolf spider.
It's crawling on his leg. And this isn't just your standard creepy bug moment.
No, this is a lethal threat. The text tells us that the bite of a white wolf spider will literally liquefy your flesh. It's a horrific way to die. So Azoth is stuck between 2 very bad deaths. Above him, there's Durzo Blint, this supernatural killing machine. If Azoth moves to brush the spider off, the muddy water splashes, Blint hears him, and likely just stabs straight through the floor.
But on his leg is the spider. If he doesn't move, it bites him.
So he has to make a choice. The natural death, the spider, or the supernatural death, Blint. And he chooses the spider. He freezes. He actively accepts that he might die from the bite rather than give away his position.
That paralysis, let's unpack that for a second. Is that bravery or is it just terror?
That is the core question that haunts Azoth for the entire book. He thinks it's cowardice. He thinks he just froze because he's weak. But I would argue it shows a terrifying level of survival instinct. He calculated the odds in a split second. The spider might bite. Blint will kill. He played the percentages.
And as it turns out, he gets lucky. The spider moves on. But then the floorboards rip open. Blint knew he was there the whole time.
Of course he did. You don't hide from a wet boy.
Blint jams the sword through the floorboards, stopping inches from Azoth's nose. And the line he delivers, it's not, "Here, are you okay, kid?" or "Here's a gold coin, go buy some food."
No. He looks at him and says, "I've done worse than kill children."
That is a hell of an introduction to a mentor figure.
It's a stark warning. He is telling Azoth, and by extension the reader, do not mistake me for a hero. I am a monster who happens to be useful. He is establishing boundaries immediately. He is a danger to everyone, including small frightened boys.
So Azoth survives the encounter with the monster. He crawls out of the mud. But now we have to look at what he is surviving for, because he has to go back to his real life. And honestly, his real life in the guild might actually be worse than the quick death Blint offered.
In a lot of ways, it definitely is. If Blint is the danger of the high world, that sharp, sudden death, the guild is the grinder of the low world. It's the slow, agonizing death.
We should define guilds here because it sounds really official. Like you'd think of the Guild of Blacksmiths or the Guild of Weavers.
Right. It sounds like a recognized trade union. But in the Warrens, a guild is just a gang of unwanted children. It's a hierarchy built purely on abandonment. You have the Fist at the top, who is the leader. You have the Bigs, who enforce the rules and beat people up. And then you have the Littles, like Azoth, who do the actual stealing and begging.
It's totally distinct from a family.
Yes, but it functions as their only social safety net.
A safety net made of barbed wire. And running Azoth's particular nightmare, which is the Black Dragon Guild, is a guy named Rat.
Rat.
Yeah.
The Fist.
I hated this guy instantly. The text describes him as having a face so red with rage that his pimples look like white polka dots.
He's visually repulsive,
Yep.
sure, but it's his personality that is the real problem. He's the classic schoolyard bully, but elevated to a deeply sociopathic level. The source material explicitly mentions he was born without a conscience. He takes genuine pleasure in causing fear.
It's not just about the money for him?
No, not at all.
No.
Most criminals want money. Rat wants dominance. He wants to see the light go out in your eyes.
And the system he enforces is brutal. They call it dues.
It's the micropolitics of poverty. Every kid has to bring in a set amount, 4 coppers, every single day. If you don't bring in 4 coppers, you get beaten. If you hold out and keep some for yourself, you get beaten. It's pure exploitation. The Bigs exploit the Littles steal from the merchants. It's a cycle of abuse that just continually flows downward.
But amidst all this misery, Azoth has managed to form a little family unit, the Trinity, if you will.
Yes. In a world that actively tries to isolate you, he has forged a real connection. You have Azoth, who acts as the protector figure even though he feels cowardly. You have Jarl, and you have Doll Girl.
Let's talk about Jarl for a minute. Because in a place like the Warrens, Jarl really shouldn't exist.
He really shouldn't. Jarl is Ladeshian, so he stands out physically with his dark skin, which unfortunately makes him a target for racists in the city. But it's his mind that is truly unique. He's the planner. He's the moral compass of the group. He absolutely refuses to let the Warrens strip him of his humanity. While Azoth is solely focused on surviving the next 5 minutes, Jarl is thinking about next year.
And then there's Allgirl. She's mute, heavily traumatized, and physically tiny.
She represents pure vulnerability. In the ecosystem of the Warrens, she is basically prey. There is no evolutionary reason for her to survive here. The only reason she is alive is because Azoth and Jarl have essentially built a wall of bodies around her to keep the world out.
There's a scene that really captures their dynamic perfectly. They're sharing a loaf of stale bread.
It's a tiny moment of humanity amidst the filth. Azoth splits the bread. He tries to give Jarl the smaller piece, maybe because he thinks he needs the strength to protect them, or maybe just because he's a starving kid and he's hungry. It's a selfish impulse.
But Doll Girl judges him for it.
She doesn't say a single word, she just looks at him. And Azoth feels that shame immediately. He switches the pieces. He takes the smaller one himself. It's such a small detail, but it shows that even in the gutter, they have a code. They have love. They are trying so hard to be better than the mud they sleep in.
But that love gets tested, and this is where the story gets really morally complex. Jarl reveals his big secret.
The stash.
Jarl has been taking beatings, literally getting slapped around by Rat because he's been holding out. He hasn't been turning in all his earnings. He's saved coppers, silvers, and even 2 gold gunders.
That is an absolute fortune in the Warrens. That is life-changing money.
And here is the real aha moment for Azoth's character depth. When he sees that money, his first thought isn't, wow, good for you, Jarl.
No. His first thought is violently selfish. He thinks, I could hit him with a rock. I could take the money. I could run to Durzo Blint and pay him to make me an apprentice.
That is incredibly dark. This is his best friend.
It perfectly highlights the corrupting nature of the Warrens. When you are starving and perpetually terrified, loyalty is a luxury item. Azoth fights that urge, but the fact that he has it, that is the shadow inside him. He realizes that given the right amount of pressure, he could be just as bad as Rat.
Meanwhile, Jarl is just good. He wants to use the money to save Azoth.
The contrast is completely heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Jarl is offering selfless love. He wants to buy Azoth an apprenticeship with a legitimate craftsman, or at least get him out of the city. Azoth is consumed by fear. Jarl thinks they can buy freedom, but Azoth is starting to realize that in this world, you can't buy freedom. You have to take it.
So that's the micro level, the struggle for literal crumbs in the mud. But the outline shifts us now to the macro level, the High Lords.
Yes, we leave the mud floors and transition to the rice paper walls of General Aegon's estate.
And suddenly, the aesthetic changes completely. It's clean, it's quiet, there's tea being served, but the problems, they're kind of exactly the same.
They are structurally identical. It is all about power vacuums. Who has the power? Who wants the power? And what price are you willing to pay to get it?
The political context here is that King Davin is dying.
Poisoned by our friend Durzo Blint, though the public just believes it's an illness.
Right, and the heir is Prince Elaine Gunder. The text calls him the Niner.
It's a mocking nickname. It refers to his deep connection to the criminal underworld. And he sounds, well, unimpressive.
Unimpressive is putting it politely. He's weak, he's vain, he's corrupt, and crucially, he is a puppet. If he becomes king, the crime syndicate, the Sakaje, essentially runs the entire kingdom.
So the good guys, if we can call them that, have a massive dilemma on their hands. We have two main players here in this room, General Brant Aegon and Duke Regnus Jair.
Aegon is the military genius. He's very pragmatic. He's an ascetic, meaning he doesn't care for luxury or comfort. Jair is the beloved noble. Big, powerful, deeply honorable. The common people love Jair.
And Aegon proposes a coup. He lays it out very logically. He says, look, the prince is a complete disaster. If he takes the throne, the criminals win. The kingdom rots from the inside. We have the army. We can take the throne. We should take the throne.
It's the classic utilitarian move. Do a bad thing, commit treason, to prevent a much worse thing, which is criminal rule. It makes total logical sense.
But Jair says no.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Why does he say no? It's not because he loves the prince.
It's because of a woman, Nalia.
The prince's wife.
Yeah.
Who also happens to be Jair's former love.
See, if Jair seizes the throne, standard operating procedure in this world and, frankly, in real medieval history, says he has to completely eliminate the rival claim. That means he wouldn't just be killing the prince. He would have to execute Nalia and their children.
He point-blank refuses to be a child killer. He says, I will not commit murder for what may be.
On the surface, from a modern ethical standpoint, we might applaud him. We'd say, good job, Duke Jair, don't kill the innocent kids.
Yeah.
But we have to look at the massive consequences of that honor.
That's the real rub, isn't it? By keeping his own hands clean, he is effectively dooming the entire city.
Precisely. His refusal to act just hands the keys of the kingdom right over to the Sakaje. His personal honor condemns thousands of peasants, thousands of Azoths and Jarls to continued suffering under violent criminal rule. Because he won't kill a few innocent nobles, many, many innocent commoners are going to die.
Wow. When you frame it like that, his clean conscience is essentially paid for by the suffering of the poor.
It's a very rigid honor. It lacks any fluidity. And in scenario, if you cramp bend, you break.
And speaking of breaking, Jair leaves behind his son, Logan.
Logan Jair. He's about Azoth's age, maybe 12 years old.
The text describes him as a big kid, a talented fighter, very proud, but his dad is basically abandoning him in the city while he goes back to his fortified country estate.
He's leaving him to be the Lord in a literal viper's nest. He tells him, I'm gambling with you, Logan. That is such a heavy burden to place on a 12-year-old boy. Surprise them. Be smarter, better, braver.
It feels like a direct mirror to Azoth, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Both are boys being forced to grow up way too fast because of the massive failures of the adults around them. Azoth is trapped by poverty. Logan is trapped by high politics. Both are just being used as pawns.
So, Jair won't take the throne. The weak prince is going to become king. But who is really pulling the strings here? Let's talk about the Sakaje 9.
The shadow government.
The scene where we meet them is straight up gothic horror. We are taken deep underground.
The setting is so crucial here. The meeting room is carved out of black fireglass. There are gargoyles that look like they're screaming in literal agony. It's incredibly theatrical. It's purposefully designed to terrorize anyone who steps foot in there.
And sitting on the thrones are the 9, the crime lords.
And Durzo Blint just walks in there like he owns the place.
This is what I love about Blint. He reports to them, right? He is technically their employee.
Technically, yes. He's their weapon. But he also knows the fundamental truth. They are just men. They might have money and vast influence, but he has the talent.
There's a confrontation with one of the 9, a guy named Corbin Fischel.
Fischel is nasty. He tries to goad Blint. He really wants to prove that he's the boss. He asks us, can you still do it? Can you still kill?
And Blint doesn't just say, yes, sir. He plays this incredible mind game. First, he has to deal with Fischel's bashers, Lefty and Bernard.
Right. And he disarms them effortlessly. He doesn't even draw a weapon. He just casually dismantles these 2 huge thugs. And then he moves so fast no one even sees it, and he stabs Fischel in the leg with a tiny needle. Then he places a vial on the table.
He says, if the needle was poisoned, this is the antidote. If it wasn't, the antidote will kill you.
That is such a massive power move. Think about the psychology going on there. He forces Fischel to gamble with his own life based entirely on how well he thinks he can read Blint.
And Fischel cracks. He drinks it.
It creates a situation where Blint utterly humiliates one of the most powerful men in the entire city without technically disobeying a direct order. It proves that Blint isn't just a physical thug. He's a psychological warrior. He is leagues smarter than his masters realize.
But despite Blint's arrogance and his display of power, the Nine still get exactly what they want. They decide to keep the weak prince in power. They plan to manipulate him by playing on his deepest insecurities.
They know that a weak king is simply better for business. If Jair had taken the throne, he might have used the army to crack down on the guilds. But the prince. The prince will happily let the Warrens rot so long as he gets his lavish parties and his constant praise.
Which brings us right back to the Warrens and back to Azoth. Because while the lords are playing 4D chess, the pawns are the ones getting crushed. Things are about to go from bad to an absolute nightmare.
The breaking point.
It starts with the mugging gone totally wrong. The Black Dragon Guild, which includes Rat, Azoth, all of them, they try to jump a drunk man in an alley, and wouldn't you know it?
It's Durzo Blint again.
I mean, what are the odds?
Well, Blint frequents the Warrens. It's his primary hunting ground. But for the guild to actually attack him, it's completely suicidal. It's like a pack of chihuahuas trying to take down a dire wolf.
And Blint's reaction, he doesn't even draw his sword this time.
He just disarms them, knocks them around a bit, and he's amused. That reaction is what absolutely shatters Azoth's worldview. He sees this man facing down an entire gang, a gang that terrifies Azoth every single day, and Blint is not afraid. He is bored.
To Azoth, that is literal godlike power.
It is. It's freedom. Azoth realizes he doesn't want money. He doesn't even want bread. He wants that. He wants total exemption from fear.
So he follows Blint into the tunnels. He's desperate at this point. He begs him for an apprenticeship.
And Blint shuts him down cold. He just says, I don't take apprentices. Go home, kid.
Total rejection. But Azoth can't just go home, because home has fundamentally changed while he was gone.
While this was all happening, power shifted in the guild. The old leader, Jalaliel, finally died or was incapacitated enough to lose control, so Rat steps up.
Rat is the boss now.
And his very first act as leader is pure, unadulterated sadism. He needs to assert his dominance over the group. So he targets the one person who actually has something to lose.
He targets Jarl.
The brutality of the scene is genuinely hard to read. He beats Jarl until his face is virtually unrecognizable, swollen shut, missing teeth. And to add profound humiliation to the physical injury, he forces Jarl to wear a dress. He parades him around the Warrens like a hunting trophy.
It's sickening. It's not just violence. It's the systematic dismantling of a person's soul.
And Azoth freezes again. He can't act. But Rat does something very, very clever here. He doesn't kill Azoth. He doesn't even beat Azoth up.
Yeah, this really confused me at first. Why spare Azoth? Azoth is Jarl's best friend. He's the logical next target.
It's a deep psychological trap. Rat wants to make Azoth a hero to the others. He wants the other kids to look up to Azoth, to think Azoth somehow got away with something. He wants to give Azoth a tiny little bit of hope, a little bit of status within the group, just so he can tear it all down later.
He wants to break his spirit, not just break his bones.
Exactly. If he kills Azoth now, Azoth becomes a martyr. If he lets Azoth live, lets him think he's winning, and then destroys him, that is total victory. It proves to everyone else that resistance is entirely futile.
And the utter tragedy is it completely breaks Jarl.
Jarl changes. The light just goes out of his eyes. The Jarl who painstakingly saved money for 4 years, he's gone. The Jarl who had a grand plan for escape, gone. He stops speaking to Azoth altogether, and the stash is gone. Rat presumably took it, or it's just useless now.
So Azoth is totally alone. His protector is broken. His enemy is playing with him like a cat plays with a trapped mouse. And he realizes he has absolutely no future.
He realizes he's a dead man walking. If he stays, Rat destroys him eventually. If he runs, he starves to death in the streets.
So he goes back to the only option he has left, the wet boy.
The ultimatum.
This scene is so incredibly tense. Azoth waits in a dark alley. He has a shiv, just a jagged piece of metal. And he's practicing.
He's practicing on a rat, a literal street rat.
Why does he do that?
Because he desperately needs to know if he can actually do it. Killing a human is the ultimate taboo, even down in the Warrens. He needs to prove to himself that he has the capacity to snuff out a life. He needs to cross that psychological and moral line before he even speaks to Blint again.
And he does. He kills the rat. It's messy, it's gross, but he does it. And then out of nowhere, Blint appears.
Blint is always there. He's like a shadow himself. He moves silently.
Azoth demands to be an apprentice. Again.
And Blint slaps him down. Again, just knocks wind right out of him. But this time, he stops. He actually looks at the kid and he asks him a terrifying question.
He says, "Give me one good reason why I shouldn't kill you."
This is the ultimate test. Blint doesn't want a sob story about Jarl. He doesn't want promises of money. He wants to know if this kid understands the brutal reality of their world.
And in that moment, Azoth has an epiphany. He realizes it's not about him.
It's about Doll Girl.
He realizes that his greatest weakness isn't just his own physical fear. It's his love for Doll Girl. Rat is going to use her to destroy him.
Blint is showing him the true cost of this life. To be a wet boy, you can't have weaknesses. You cannot have friends. You cannot have love. Azoth realizes that the actual stakes are Doll Girl's life. If he doesn't become powerful enough to stop Rat, Rat is going to do to Doll Girl exactly what he did to Jarl.
It's such a heavy, crushing realization for an 11-year-old kid.
Is the literal death of his childhood. Right there in the muddy alley.
Right.
He realizes that to save the things he loves, he has to become something that fundamentally cannot love.
So let's bring this all together for a final synthesis. We have these fascinating parallel stories. Dupe Gyre in his manor and Azoth in the mud.
Both of them are completely trapped. Gyre is tracked by his rigid honor. He absolutely won't do the dirty work, so he loses his power to the criminals. Azoth is tracked by his extreme poverty, but he realizes he has to do the dirty work to gain any power at all.
It seems like the source material is presenting a world where being good is a massive liability.
It is. Being good gets you killed, or it gets your kingdom stolen from you. To survive in Scenaria, you have to become something else entirely. You have to become like Durzo Blint.
The text basically calls it becoming a monster.
But maybe, in this specific ecosystem, a necessary monster.
And that is the final thought I want to leave you, the listener, with today. Durzo Blint asks Azoth for a single reason not to kill him. In a world this unyieldingly cruel, where you have sociopaths like Rat and shadow governments and poisoners running everything, is death actually a mercy?
Or is the willingness to become a monster the only true act of hope you have left?
That is a remarkably dark thought to end on, but this is a remarkably dark world. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We will see you next time.
Goodbye.